What if I told you that your consciousness, right this very moment, might be connected to every single atom in the universe? That the mere fact you're thinking and pondering this possibility could be a manifestation of something far deeper than we've ever imagined. We're talking about one of modern science's most revolutionary and controversial ideas. The possibility that consciousness isn't just a product of your brain, but a fundamental property of the cosmos itself. Today, we're going to explore a frontier where quantum physics meets the philosophy of mind, where neuroscience intersects with cosmology, and where some of the planet's most brilliant minds are questioning our most basic understanding of what it means to be conscious in a 13.8 billion-year-old universe. We'll uncover why some scientists believe your consciousness might be as fundamental as gravity, why this idea sparks so much debate in the scientific community, and how the latest discoveries in quantum physics could be shifting our view on the very nature of reality. Hey there, cosmic explorers. Welcome back to Cosmic Frontiers. We're on a fascinating journey toward 1,000 subscribers, unraveling the universe's deepest mysteries, and today, we're diving into truly uncharted territory. Let's kick things off with a question that might seem simple, but has left philosophers and scientists scratching their heads for centuries. What exactly is consciousness? Right this very second, you're experiencing something extraordinary. You're not just processing the words I'm saying, you're aware that you're processing those words. You have a subjective experience, a unique perspective of the world that seems to exist only for you. That, right there, is consciousness. Now, here's where things get really interesting. For a long time, science assumed that consciousness is what we call an emergent property of the brain. Imagine a cake. You've got flour, eggs, sugar, all ingredients that don't taste like cake on their own. But when you mix them together and bake them, something entirely new emerges. The taste of cake. According to this traditional view, consciousness would be like that taste, something that emerges when neurons organize themselves in a sufficiently complex way. But there's a growing group of scientists, philosophers, and even physicists who are proposing something radically different. What if consciousness didn't emerge from the brain, but was a fundamental property of the universe? Just like mass, electrical charge, or energy are basic properties of matter. What if consciousness was to it? This idea has a name, Before you think that sounds like science fiction, let me tell you who's actually taking this idea seriously. David Chalmers, one of the world's most respected neuroscientists and philosophers of mind, not only considers panpsychism plausible, but argues it might be our best hope for solving what he calls the hard problem of consciousness. Julio Tononi, a neuroscientist at the University of Wisconsin, developed a mathematical theory of consciousness that suggests it can exist in different degrees across different systems, not just in human brains. But wait, it gets even more intriguing. Quantum physics, that discipline which has already shown us that reality is far stranger than we ever imagined, might be offering clues about how consciousness operates at the most fundamental level of the universe. Let's talk about the double-slit experiment, one of quantum physics' most famous and mind-bending experiments. Imagine you have a wall with two slits, and you're shooting particles through them. If you don't observe which slit the particle goes through, it behaves like a wave and passes through both slits simultaneously, creating an interference pattern. But the moment you place a detector to observe which slit it goes through, the particle collapses and behaves like a normal particle, passing through just one slit. That's extraordinary. The mere presence of an observer seems to affect the fundamental behavior of matter. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics, like the von Neumann-Wigner interpretation, suggest that it's specifically the observer's consciousness that causes the wave function to collapse. In other words, consciousness might literally be shaping physical reality at the quantum level. Roger Penrose, a mathematical physicist and Nobel laureate, along with anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, proposed one of the boldest theories about consciousness and quantum physics, the orchestrated objective reduction theory, or ORCOR. They suggest that consciousness emerges from quantum processes happening within structures called microtubules inside neurons. According to this theory, our brains are biological quantum computers, and consciousness arises when these quantum systems collapse in an orchestrated manner. Now, it's important to pause here and acknowledge that we're navigating some very controversial waters. The vast majority of neuroscientists and physicists consider these ideas, at the very least, unproven, and many view them as speculation without solid scientific basis. Why is that? First, there's what scientists call the decoherence problem. The brain is a hot, wet, and noisy environment, exactly the kind of environment where delicate quantum states should be destroyed almost instantly. It's like trying to keep a house of cards standing during an earthquake. Most physicists believe that any quantum effect in the brain would be destroyed too quickly to affect neural processes. Second, many argue that we're committing what they call the God of the gaps fallacy, because we don't fully understand how consciousness works. We're trying to fill those gaps with quantum physics, which is also mysterious. It's like trying to explain one mystery with another mystery. But here's what makes this debate so fascinating. Recent evidence is starting to challenge some of these objections. In 2014, researchers found evidence that some plants use quantum effects to perform photosynthesis more efficiently, and that's in warm, wet biological systems. If nature has found ways to harness quantum effects in living systems, perhaps the brain has too. Furthermore, recent studies with anesthetics are revealing intriguing patterns. When anesthetics affect consciousness, they seem to specifically interfere with neurons' ability to maintain certain types of quantum correlations. This doesn't prove that consciousness is quantum, but it suggests there might be more to the story than we previously thought. Now, let's expand our perspective and think about the cosmic implications of these ideas. If panpsychism is correct, if consciousness truly is a fundamental property of the universe, that would completely change our understanding of our place in the cosmos. Think about it this way. You've probably heard that we're made of stardust, that the atoms in your body were forged in the core of stars that died billions of years ago. That's a deep and real connection to the cosmos. But what if there's an even deeper connection? What if the capacity to experience, to have a subjective perspective, to be conscious, is also a fundamental cosmic inheritance? Some scientists are exploring even more radical ideas. Christoph Koch, a neuroscientist at the Allen Institute for Brain Science, argues that consciousness might be an intrinsic property of any system that processes information in an integrated manner. This means that not just humans and animals, but potentially sufficiently complex computers, artificial neural networks, and perhaps even natural systems like ecosystems or geological formations could possess some degree of conscious experience. Philip Goff, a philosopher at Durham University, proposes that we might be on the cusp of a scientific revolution comparable to those of Copernicus or Darwin. Just as Copernicus moved us from the center of the universe and Darwin connected us with all life on Earth, a scientific understanding of consciousness could revolutionize our grasp of the nature of reality. There's even a cosmological version of panpsychism that suggests the universe itself might possess some kind of cosmic consciousness. We're not talking about a universe that thinks like humans, but rather some type of unified experience emerging from the complex web of interactions between all the particles, forces, and fields that make up the cosmos. It's an idea that echoes ancient philosophical traditions, but is now being explored with modern scientific tools. Of course, all of this raises profound questions about free will, moral responsibility, and the nature of experience. If consciousness is truly connected to the fundamental quantum processes of the universe, could that mean our decisions are influenced by random quantum events? Or could it mean we have a type of influence over physical reality that we never even imagined? Some researchers are investigating whether human consciousness can affect physical systems in measurable ways. Experiments with quantum random number generators have shown small but statistically significant deviations from randomness when people mentally try to influence the results. These findings are controversial and not widely accepted, but if they're real, they could suggest that the boundary between mind and matter is more porous than we think. Let's also consider the implications for our search for extraterrestrial life. If consciousness is fundamental to the universe, that could mean it's far more common throughout the cosmos than we ever imagined. Perhaps we don't just need to look for signs of intelligent life, but for signs of conscious experience in forms we can't even begin to imagine. Consider the vast networks of galaxies we see in the universe, structures that stretch for hundreds of millions of light years, connected by filaments of dark matter. These structures process information, exhibit complex patterns of organization, and evolve over cosmic time. If consciousness is truly a fundamental property of systems that integrate information, who's to say these cosmic structures don't possess some form of experience? It's important to emphasize that many of these ideas are still in the very early stages of scientific investigation. We're dealing with hypotheses, not established facts. Mainstream neuroscience continues to focus on understanding how the brain generates consciousness through purely neural and biochemical processes. And these researchers are making impressive strides. Techniques like advanced neuroimaging, precise brain stimulation, and neural network analysis are revealing a lot about how different aspects of consciousness, attention, memory, perception, function in the brain. Theories such as Tonini's integrated information theory and Stanislas Dehaene's global workspace theory are offering mathematically rigorous models for how consciousness emerges from neural activity. But here's what makes this scientific frontier so exciting. We don't know which approach will prove most fruitful. Perhaps consciousness is entirely explainable through classical neural processes. Perhaps it requires insights from quantum physics. Perhaps it demands an even more radical paradigm shift in our understanding of the nature of reality. What we do know is that consciousness remains one of science's greatest mysteries. Despite decades of progress in neuroscience and cognitive science, we still don't have a complete explanation for why there's something it's like to have a conscious experience. Why aren't we just sophisticated biological robots processing information without subjective experience? This question, why there's subjective experience, is what David Chalmers calls the hard problem of consciousness. And it's possible that solving this problem will require insights not just from biology and neuroscience, but from fundamental physics, information theory, and even our understanding of the nature of space and time. So, where does that leave us? We're living in an extraordinary moment in the history of science, where the boundaries between disciplines are dissolving and fundamental questions about the nature of reality are being re-examined. The ideas we've explored today might seem speculative now, but remember, many of science's most revolutionary discoveries, from relativity to quantum mechanics, seemed radical when they were first proposed. The connection between consciousness and the cosmos that we're exploring reminds us of something profound. We're not passive observers of a mechanistic, meaningless universe. We are an integral part of a dynamic, interconnected, and perhaps conscious cosmos. Our capacity to question, to wonder, to experience the beauty of the stars and the elegance of physical equations might be more than just an evolutionary accident. It could be a fundamental expression of the very nature of the universe itself. Every time you gaze at the night sky and feel that sense of awe and connection, you might be experiencing something that echoes throughout the entire fabric of the cosmos. Every thought you have, every moment of consciousness, could be a window into the most fundamental processes of reality. This brings us to a profound reflection. If consciousness is truly connected to the fundamental structure of the universe, then our scientific journey of discovery isn't just about understanding the world around us. It's about understanding our own deepest nature. We are the universe becoming conscious of itself, questioning its own existence, marveling at its own complexity and beauty. Cosmic explorers, what a fascinating reflection on our connection to the cosmos. Recapping our journey today, we discovered that consciousness might be a fundamental property of the universe. We explored how quantum physics could be connected to our subjective experience, and we considered the revolutionary implications of these ideas for our understanding of our place in the cosmos. The most impressive thing is that these questions lead us to the very heart of what it means to be human in a universe of infinite possibilities. Now, I want to hear from you. If consciousness truly is fundamental to the universe, how would that change your perspective on your own life and your connection to the cosmos? Do you believe our consciousness can influence physical reality in ways we don't yet understand? Share your thoughts in the comments. I love seeing the deep discussions our community creates. And since we're talking about cosmic mysteries, cosmic explorers, what scientific frontier do you want me to discuss in the next video? Black holes and information, the nature of time, multiple universes. Leave your suggestions in the comments, and let's continue our journey of discovery together. We're on an incredible journey toward 1,000 cosmic explorers. If this video expanded your understanding of the nature of consciousness and our connection to the universe, join our crew by hitting subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up if it sparked new questions about reality, and share it with someone else who's fascinated by existence's deepest mysteries. In the next video, we'll explore another frontier where science meets the impossible. Until then, keep questioning, keep wondering, and remember, you are the universe experiencing itself.